Today I am going to walk you through how I build a professional spec title sequence from scratch, covering everything from finding the perfect footage to that final polished color grade. We will be channeling those moody late-night thriller vibes, so if you enjoy that kind of intense cinematic energy, you are definitely in the right place. Hey, I am Cameron from Motion Science, and before we dive into the creative weeds, I want to mention that I'll be showing you some shortcuts to save you hours of busy work. We will be using a specific tool later on to automate the tedious parts of clipping, but even without it, this entire workflow is designed to level up your editing game. Step 1 is all about sourcing your footage, and for spec work, I usually turn to stock platforms like ArtGrid. I like to search for vague, emotive keywords like mystery, eerie, or abandoned, scrolling until a few textural shots really stand out to me. The ultimate goal here is to find a handful of striking textural clips that hold up well even when they are cropped, scaled, or manipulated. While I am gathering those visuals, I also hunt for the right music on a platform like Epidemic Sound. I type in a few vibe words, hit play, and move quickly to avoid falling down an endless rabbit hole of music selection. I typically grab 2 or 3 strong contenders and bring them into my timeline so I can audition them against the visuals later on. If you are starting from long-form footage like a lecture or a scene, I use a tool called Vizard to handle the heavy lifting. Instead of scrubbing for hours, Vizard automatically detects viral moments and cuts them into perfectly framed clips for social media. It saves me the tedious hunt, and the resulting clips are already cropped and ready for vertical platforms like TikTok or Reels. Once I have my best clips, I drag them into Premiere and spend a couple of hours building a rough cut to feel out the rhythm. This is the time to experiment and play with the clips, making bold trims and unexpected overlaps to see what feels right. Often the most interesting parts of a sequence come from those happy accidents caused by silly trims or rhythm changes. Once the edit is solid, I send the sequence to After Effects, but I always keep my original Premiere project file intact. Keeping that Premiere timeline alive allows me to fine-tune the pacing later without forcing every single change through the dynamic link. Inside After Effects, I start layering in the texture using analog distortion or VHS grain to give the footage a haunted, authentic feel. I experiment with different blending modes and opacity levels until the noise feels like an organic part of the original image. Little touches like signal tears or subtle noise displacement can really sell the retro thriller aesthetic we are aiming for. Experimentation is everything, so I push the color shifts, signal warps, and chromatic aberration until something clicks into place. I don't worry about being perfect initially. I am simply hunting for an overall tone that feels cohesive and intriguing. Once the look is set, I focus on color consistency, using simple tools like curves and tint to make everything feel like it was filmed at the same time. For this project, I leaned heavily into cooler tones like deep blues and greens to enhance that uneasy thriller atmosphere. Next is typography, where I choose a condensed, clean sans serif typeface that feels impactful without being overly complicated. I keep the text underneath adjustment layers initially to see how the grain affects the letters, then move them above if they need more clarity. One professional secret is adding just a tiny bit of blur to your text so it sits naturally inside the grainy vintage frame. When text is too sharp against grainy footage, it can look unnatural, but that subtle blur makes the type breathe. Use the rule of thirds to compose your text blocks, which naturally creates a sense of balance and tension in your layout. I often add a final top-level CRT or tube warmth layer to really cement that era-specific look I am going for. Those final 10 tweaks to the shadows and highlights are what separate a raw demo reel from something that looks truly professional. Now, when it comes to social media, I use Vizard again to take those long sequences and auto-create vertical variants for different platforms. Instead of manual exports, it handles the scheduling and content calendar so I can plan a whole month of posts in one sitting. Remember that spec work is your personal playground, a space where you can experiment without client pressure to discover new techniques. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to streamline your own workflow, I definitely recommend checking out tools that automate that clipping process. Hit like and subscribe if you found this useful, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions about specific parts of the workflow. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next breakdown.